G'day guys, Wayman here. Welcome back to the workshop. I am back at Adam's place. Okay,
Hooray!
g'day buddy. There we go. Yay! You're not going to be saying yay in a second because this is going to be a long one. This one is it got set off because I saw a comment about C3 and Adam saw the comment about C3 and we were kind of like talking about it, and then I went away and I researched it all, and I thought, well, this is a whole heap of bovine manure, and I think I need to talk about it.
This is now become his therapy session. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we have done the videos about the C3, how it works, and the
and all that sort of
concepts
stuff.
it.
Yep. So if you haven't seen that one, go back and have a look. But more importantly, have a look in the comments, because there was. I got a screenshot of it. I should really bring it up, shouldn't I? It's basically about trying to get a BV value for C3, because it doesn't technically have a BV value when you construct. When you put it into a unit, it doesn't change its BV. So that piece of equipment doesn't actually have a BV of its own. What it does have is a set of stupidly complicated calculations in the back of tech manual that only so many people have.
Yeah.
And it was online names are so cool. Hariakoros. I'm going to call you Haj.
Bruce was taken. Obviously.
Bruce is taken already. No, we'll make him a true Australian and call him Bruce. Yep. Mind if we call you Bruce to keep it straight? It still makes me laugh. So when you have a C3 network, does it cost BV to activate it? On one game, we got the problem that when you have the elements of a C3 network master and 3 slaves and you activate it, BV of said units go up a bit, 5 or 10% as I recall. Cannot find the rule for it, at least not mentioned anywhere. So what it is there is technically a section of the tech manual that goes through constructing a battle force and giving it a BV. 0323 mentioned this in his. So there's got to pay an additional 20% of my total army's cost for 4 mechs, which ate up all the gunnery skill I paid for, and blah, blah, blah. It isn't in the kit rulebook. It isn't in the BattleTech manual. It's not in the Total Warfare book. It's actually in one that very few people, unless you're really into modding, you're not really going to buy this. Right, because that's all this is really about, is building mechs. And yes, there's some cool equipment and other funky stuff like that, but most of that's covered in other places anyway. So this is really just for modders.
I really like the book, though.
It is good. I love it, and I wouldn't do without it. I reckon it's great. But this section I don't use. I've never modified my BV for any of these things except skill.
Yeah, because we've never really had to, do we? We haven't really had many games with C3 or anything.
But I mean, even in the past, if I've played with C3, I didn't know this was a thing until the last few years, and I've ignored it since I learned about it because it's silly. And I'm here to show you why it's silly. No, we're here to discuss its relative merits, Tarron. So let's put a objective face on this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you a bit of verbatim stuff here. It's against my principles, but there you go. Asking you to read it, not throw up on it. So, when you are constructing a battle force, you are supposed to modify the BV of that battle force for a few different things, and according to the rules that are here, you are supposed to do them in order. Okay? So there is target acquisition gear. So if you have tag, light tag, or a C3 master computer which acts as a tag, you add BV equal to the BV of each ton of semi-guided LRM ammunition, and then in TAC Ops they also mention that you need to add in anything else that's guided by tag, so copperhead ammo and Arrow 4 homing missiles, I think are the 2 main ones. So you are technically supposed to add an amount equal to the BV of every ton of that ammunition to every unit that has the ability to target that ammunition, okay? Then you cover your command, control, and communication systems. So if you have anyone in a C3 network and they're all designated as a C3 network at the beginning of the game, then you add 5% of the total BV of all the units in the network to each of the units linked by that network. Okay? So if you have one big network, then you add 5% for each unit that's in that network to that unit. Okay? Not to the total, to that unit. Okay? So it gets 5% of that total added back to it, which is technically reciprocal, but there you go. It doesn't matter. It's not the point. External stores. So anything with external hard points, mainly they're talking about bombs.
Yeah.
So your high X bombs on the Mantis that we're talking about.
Yeah,
That's an 1117, by the way. I looked it up.
1117.
Yeah, 1117. So you'd put your 3 bombs on there. You'd have to pay your BV for those bombs, add it to that unit, and then move to the next step. But yeah, three bombs. High X is 10, so you could do 30 points of damage, and it'd still only be a 10-15. Sidetrack, but cool.
We have go have a look at that. Go have a look at that one. We did that. We talked about that. The Mantis.
You can technically use your
bombs.
your VTOLs for strafing runs and bombing runs, which is pretty cool. And then after you've got these modified totals, you are supposed to then check your skill rating.
Which makes sense because you've modified everything, so then you need to modify the unit. It's new BV.
That kind of makes sense, that doing that in order. I don't agree with those first two, the target and command and control. The external stores, yes, if you're going to put bombs on it, you should be paying for them.
Correct.
Right? And then, I assume that the skill with which those bombs are going to be dropped would influence, how battle worthy you are.
Of course.
Right? So that's fine. I no problem with that. And then, technically, you are supposed to adjust your BV to force size. So you adjust the BV of opposing battle forces by adding up the number of elements in each force. So a conventional fighter, an aerospace fighter, a mech, a vehicle, blah, 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 they're all a unit. So a full company would be 12 units.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you split it up or whatever. You got 2 vehicles per point of a lance or something. I don't know. But it should technically be 12 units. So what you're doing is you're then getting a force modifier for the larger force. Right? So if you outnumber your opponent, you'll have a force modifier applied to your battle value based on how badly you outnumber them.
Yeah.
So you take the smaller force divided by the larger force, and then you add on the larger force divided by the smaller force, and then you take 1 away from that. And that number that's left is what you multiply your larger force's BV by.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the only one I really agree with is the skill ratings and the bombs. That's it. The rest of them, I don't think there's any point in that.
Really? Force size?
I don't think you should be modifying your BV for force size. It's like, this is a thing that can only happen when you know how many units your enemy has. Now, 90% of the scenarios that we play, that I play, 90% of the scenarios that I see out there will either have a fixed force or they have a force, like a BV limit. So you're trying to build up to, say, 5,000 BV, 2,000 BV, 12,000 BV, whatever it is. You can't know your final BV until you know how many units your opponent has. Because if you've got more than them, that modifies your BV.
Yeah. From a tournament organising perspective, that's an absolute nightmare.
That is an absolute nightmare. If you are trying to do like what I'm going to call a standard scenario, because I think they're standard scenarios, where you have a BV limit and you walk away from the scenario meeting, or you get your email with the listing in it, and it's got a BV limit and maybe a force limit and stuff like that, and you sit down and you go, okay, I'm going to build a force for this. I'm going to take 6 of them and 2 of those and 3 of that, and I'll give that one a really good pilot and blah, blah, blah. You make this list up, and it's under that BV or it's on that BV, and you come back on the day and you go, here's my force. We're going to battle.
Yeah.
Boom. And then it turns out that the other dude only took 2 units, and now your force is like 6 times bigger, and you're over the BV, and you have to sit down and go, oh, well, what can I drop?
Yeah.
That's a stupid rule.
It's
That's stupid.
It's very, very hard from a tournament perspective as well. Isn't it?
Yeah, I can see how you could make it work, but you would have to have some sort of like, you'd have to have a handicap or benefit system. So rather than fighting to like building your force to a limit, you build your force and then you come in on the day and you work it all out and you get the numbers and you go, okay, so I've got more than you. So I get like my BV goes up by 1.5 times because I got more than you. And because mine is now whatever it is and you're down here, you get these benefits. Right, so you get +1 on your initiative every turn for however many turns. You get an extra, like you get a flyover from a friendly aerospace unit. You get this, you get that, you get this, because my BV is now over you. That, I can see that working. Because then people are thinking, well, how do I do, what can I do? Right, you haven't got a limit, really, a BV limit. You've got, say, I don't know, some sort of thing that says, well, you have to accomplish this, bring what you want to bring, you know. But then that opens it up for cheese, because somebody could bring like 100 atlases. If you haven't set some sort of force size limit, and if you are going to set a force size limit, then this doesn't matter, does it? You'd have to be very specific about it. If it's between, say, 8 and 9 units, right, then nobody's going to have a real force multiplier. So that knocks that out of the way anyway.
Yeah. So you just say, we're going to have X amount of units that you have to build that many. So fit it within your BV. Well, that would ignore that part.
That ignores that
modifier.
Right, but see that I can see that working if you've got some sort of, like I say, a handicap or benefit, or so if you've got more BV than someone, they get bonuses or you get negatives. That, like, in-game negatives, not to your BV. You get an in-game benefit if your opponent has a higher BV than you.
Yeah.
That could work, and that could actually be quite fun. But in a normal scenario, in a standard scenario that I see, like every time I play BattleTech, I would not use this, and I think it's silly. Because we turn up at our game, we've each built to 6,000 BV, you've got 4 units less than me, and suddenly mine's over the limit, and I have to drop units. If I drop enough units, then yours will be over mine, and you'll have to drop units. And then everybody's just trying to figure, and that's on the day you're supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
It's either that or you have a back and forth over phones and emails and things about who's got how many units. So it's like, I don't see that working, except, like I say, in specific instances.
Well, that's why you take lots of infantry bases. I'll drop this squad of riflemen.
Yep. But that's look at I built a quick thing here that showed the difference of things. So what I've built is a company of C3 units, right? Standard C3 units. I built a quick company of units, and I've built a C3I level 2.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So if I put them in a battle against each other, this is what would happen, right? So I've got here a little formula thing. I've actually written it out so that I knew what I was doing. So the small size divided by the large is 6 divided by 12 plus 12 divided by 6 minus 1. And it works out to 1.5. That means that company, which is already about 7,000 BV higher than the level 2, now multiplies its BV value by 1.5.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. The company is multiplied by 1.5. So I think it works out to, standard, it works out to 1,000. No, there it is. 26,000. Right? So 26,224 was the BV that I ended up with the company. Don't worry how I got to that. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, okay.
But it will end up with 12,000 points for the level 2 and 39,000 points for the company. So you are now roughly three times more in BV than the other person. And if you set your limit for, say, 30,000, then you've gone over that limit and you have to trim units. But anyway,
Yeah.
I
It's odd, isn't
suppose, yeah, it's. I don't think it's worth. I think it's silly, but there you go. Such is life.
Right. Well, was it okay? So, what sort of info did you? What did you use to work it out? Then, I mean, you didn't say the individual units. I don't know if you've written those down. You've got them handy or whatever. But I mean, can you give us an example? Oh, hang on. Look at this. Okay. Okay.
So, this is why I made sure you had water and you've been to the loo and all that stuff. There is a lot of stuff to go through here. Yeah. But I mean, one thing that I wanted to hit on was this fella here. In Lance 2, so I want to look at a couple of individual units, right? Because C3, sometimes it'll make your BV go up, sometimes it makes it go down. Most of the time it makes it go down, but there's other reasons why the BV of that unit went up. The Hu Huang is it's Capellan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a Capellan heavy assault. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice too. I like it.
Yeah. He's a beastie boy. He is full on. It's a 3060 mech. I'm pretty sure C3 was introduced in 3050.
Yeah.
So it's built on already built on really good equipment, like the top quality equipment, right? And so the standard one has an ERPPC, an LRM-10, 2 medium lasers, a medium pulse laser, and an LBX-20. And that is 2074 BV. Okay? And what they did to make a C3 Master version, because this is a Master, what they did to do that is they took the LRM-10 and the ammo for said out, and they put the C3 Master and a single heatsink back in. And that's the only difference. They took an LRM-10, which is good, solid, long-range firepower, and a ton of ammo, which is an explosive death waiting to happen, and they put in the C3 Master and and an extra heatsink. So that's the only change. It hasn't been upgraded with tech or anything like that. It's just got one thing pulled out and something else put in. And it actually goes down in BV. So the standard is 2074, and the C3 Master version is 2017. Right now, so you've only lost about 60 points, right? 60 points-ish of BV.
Yeah, on an assault mech at that point, yeah, no, that's all right, okay.
But you can see here, if I keep this, so this Lance 2, right? Lance 2 was a kind of a push forward and hurt things Lance. All I did was looked in Master Unit, Mega Mech Lab, and said, okay, show me anything that has a C3 Master or a C3 Slave, and I went through and I tried to stick to around 3050 to 3070-ish.
Okay.
And I just picked some that looked cool. Right, I didn't do any real thinking, but this was kind of a push forward and do stuff Lance, right? It's a hurty Lance, so it's quite expensive. There's the Hu Huang, there's a Thug, there's a Wolverine, and there's an Axeman.
Okay, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, so he's got the Master, and the Thug, the Wolverine, and the Axeman all have slaves. Now, the total of that Lance is 7,022, just standard mechs. If you just take 4 or 5 pilots for that mech, that is what that costs. Add them all together. That's the subtotal. Okay?
Yep. Okay.
7,022. Now, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to take 5% of that value and add it to each of them. 5% of that value is 351. So I dropped 60 points off my Hu Wang I dropped a weapon in order to put the C3 Master in. I lost about 60 points worth of BV, and I have to add back 351. That's stupid.
351 for each of the 4 units.
For each of those 4 units, that adds 1,404 onto the value of that full Lance.
Right. And you get for that, basically, everyone can shoot at the shortest range of everybody else in the unit.
I can't remember what C3 does for extreme range. I think you just take it 1 bracket back or something like that. But rules as written, standard rules, the best this thing can get you is -4. That's the best. It can turn a long range shot into a short range shot, which is -4.
-4 on 2d6 though.
Now, 2017. I've got a BV calculator here, so Let's see what he ends up at. He goes from 2017, he adds his 351 for that 5%, goes to 2,368. 2,368. I could get a 4-4 pilot for 2,368. I could get a 3-5 pilot, right? So I could drop my gunnery by 1. That's already saved me 1 point off my target numbers, and that's a permanent -1 off my target number rather than just a range.
Right.
Because if that Hu Wang and the Thug are both at the same range, if they're all at short range, you don't get any benefit from the C3. Not for that particular lance. Like when you're company wide, yes, but with this particular lance, if they all get within, say, 9 hexes of the enemy, none of them are getting a benefit from C3. Right? So, I don't know. Pulse lasers, just dropping your skill, taking one with a targeting computer, all of these will get you permanent drops. Armor-piercing ammo in any... not armor-piercing.
Tandem charge stuff.
Precision. Precision ammo in all your autocannons gets you -2 off the enemy's movement modifier. So that's good. I don't see 351 per unit worth of benefit there. I don't see it.
Especially if you have a skilled opponent who takes a Guardian. That will just shut all of that down. So there's 1,200 BV that's not really doing anything. Well, it certainly can't affect that unit that's got the Guardian.
No. So now, I don't want to get too deep into this like hate-filled rant and have you think that I don't like C3. I love C3. Yeah. I reckon it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's just, if you're going to instigate something like this, then I think, like I've put underneath each one here, a flat 10% for that lance. I think that's fine. I think if you say these units are all connected by C3, I'm going to add up the value of all those units after they've done their skills and everything, and I'm just going to add 10% flat to that. I think that's fine. Right? That adds 702 back into this lance. Right? So I'd have 7,724 instead of 7,022. I think that's fine.
So just go through it again. The C3 modifier, you came to 351. That was based on the Hu Wang.
That is based on this lance.
Oh, the whole lance, right. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yes.
So those 4 units add up to 7,022. And if you're keeping this as a lance, then this is what you have to do. Yeah. You take the total of those for the lance, you work out 5% of it, and you add it to each one. Then you add, so you'll have a tag modifier, so you've got any ammo that's targetable with tag will be added onto the Hu Wang, because that's the only one that's got the master system.
Because it's got the tag built into the
So if you've got, say, 2 tons of semi-guided LRMs, then you add that in here, and that'll get added to it. But for now, we've just got this. So it adds 351. You get a subtotal, and then if you want to keep it at just skill 4-5, it'll go to 2,368. If you want to adjust your skills, you have to use the new value. You have to add the C3 modification on, and then use that new value to find your skill.
Yeah.
And that makes it really bad.
It's expensive.
It's extremely expensive. This unit, if you want to make it a 4-5 unit, just keep it standard every day, it goes from 7,022 to 8,426. Like I say, 1,400. But if you want to make them just 1 skill point better in each skill, you have to spend 11,100 and a bit.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous.
All right. Well, let's talk about like a long-range support unit then, using this, because they're the ones that truly benefit from a C3 system. Yep. So did you build one of your lances that had something like that?
So as it happens, Lance 3 is a longer fire support type thing, and I tried to stick with direct fire support where I could. So I've got a Maxim leading it with the C3M. It's worth noting that the Maxim is normally a troop transport.
Yeah, I know.
Right? 3-ton troop transport with like 3 LRM5s on it.
Yeah.
Couple of 2s and a 6, I think it was. But what they had to do to put the master in there was they took out one of the LRM5s and all of its troop transport capability. It is no longer capable of transporting troops.
Yeah.
The C3 master takes up all that space. And its BV actually goes up, technically. Because the original is only 700 and something, and the C3 master is 800.
Right. Okay.
But that's because the maximum was originally made in like 3025 or 26 something or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
probably
way
earlier.
back, right? He's one of the OG vehicles, and then they upgraded all of his stuff to get him better and better, and streak and ferrofibrous armor and all of that sort of stuff. And so he's even losing some things for the C3 put his BV higher. But he can't transport troops anymore. So I got him. There's 2 LRM5s still on that, I'm pretty sure. The Challenger main battle tank has...
I like that one. It's nice.
I'm pretty sure there was like Gauss rifles or something in there. Was there Gauss rifles? God, I looked these up and I knew roughly what they were. And now I'm having to do it again. I've also got an LRM carrier.
All right, well, there's a classic. Let's do that, because most people know what an LRM carrier is if they've played for a while.
Yeah.
So the standard LRM carrier is 3 LRM 20s.
Yeah.
As standard sort of thing. So, and I think, you put a slave on it, I take it, because the Maxim's got the master.
Yeah,
There's only
the
one
LRM carrier has a slave. I think there's a WOB version that has a C3I as well, but the 3055 upgrade for the LRM carrier has Artemis for all of the LRMs, and it has a C3 slave.
It's covered everything, hasn't
Yeah.
it? So how much is that one on your little table? 798. Okay.
Right, so 798, that's not bad. Pay that, maybe modify the skills, and you're gold. You're good. You got a little fire support platform that you can muck around with.
If it's shooting at the 21 hexes or whatever range it's got, if it's not moving, if it's sitting back there, and it's base gunnery essentially for measuring to... Oh, yeah, I don't know.
So bear in mind the Artemis full fire control, ferrofibrous boosts the armor but drops the thing down and it slows down. They drop the engine down to free up some weight.
Yeah.
So that is the Artemis in a C3 network is brilliant. For the I want to go through all the electronica at some point because there was some discussion in the comments about which ones are better, and I like this one, and that's fine.
Yeah.
For me, Artemis only works when you're direct firing. It's not worth it otherwise, and this is one instance where it would come in very handy because the C3 knocks the range down, and the Artemis gives you better cluster rolls and a better target number. I'm pretty sure it's -1
That's
for
the
standard Artemis.
5.
Or is that 5?
5 has the upgrade.
So Artemis 5 would be even better. 4 just gives you the cluster roll
It's
bonus.
still good though. I mean, if you can park yourself in like a heavy woods or something to give you some extra protection and just shoot from there.
This is another one that actually goes down in BV. The standard LRM carrier is 833.
Yeah, I remember it being something a bit higher.
And this is 798. So you've dropped like 30 or 40 points off. But when you then factor in, I've also got a Warhammer in there. So there's a Warhammer with a slave in as well.
Yeah.
And we all know the Warhammer. So it's a good solid direct fire unit for this particular thing. The Challenger battle tank has like LRMs, Gauss rifle, LBX 10s, LRM 10, and a bunch of pulse lasers and things on there. So it was a good one to just sit on a hill and point at things.
Yeah.
All
right.
So that the total of that force as it is, like base level dudes, starts at 5,210, which isn't too bad. Right? That's not a bad value for a lance.
Well, most of your points in there are the Warhammer. So
Most of them, yeah. The Challenger's 1,800 and the Warhammer's 1,700. So those two make up the bulk of the unit, right? But 5% of that is 2,000. Where'd my mouse go? 260. Sorry, 260. Right. So you have to add 260 to every single one of those units, which adds 1,042 onto the total of the unit. It comes out from 5,200 to 6,250.
All right, but you've built a company there. So if that lance can sit back and has the range to do damage, that's not so bad.
So that Challenger and that Warhammer, their PPCs and Gauss rifles and things will be firing at short range.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that is
yeah, that's nice, isn't it?
Is it worth 260 extra points?
Probably. Being in a company level, though. You've got 8 other units.
At a company level, it's even more. Because remember, you're taking 5% of the whole. When you're a lance, your whole is only 5,210. So your 5% is a couple of hundred. Your 5% in Lance 2 is like 300. That's the highest one because there's a lot of assault mechs. The first Lance that I built, the one that had to have all the masters.
Yeah.
So you have to have, your first Lance is 2 masters and then 2 slaves attached to one of those masters. And then the other master attaches to the 2 masters that are in the other 2 lances.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
If you're not sure, go back to our C3 unit, C3 video and have a look at Force 1, the first C3 listing that they give you. There's a master in the middle, 3 that are near that, and then 2 for the first lance, and then 3 each for the other 2 lances.
So you link up your masters to one another, they essentially become slaves.
So what I've got here is my company command is a battle master. I wanted to have something big for the company command. The Yu Huang was actually pretty high on the list, but he's a good stompy killer. So the battle master became the commander. There's a Maxim in there as well, and he's helping with like company command and stuff. And then there's a spider, the 7KC spider has a slave, and there's actually a yellow jacket version. The PPC version has a C3 slave.
Nice.
So I've got something reasonably fast and maneuverable. The PPC doesn't have the range of the Gauss rifle, but, you know, such is life. And that one's 4,158 total. And if you adjust for C3, it comes out to 4,900. Now, that isn't too awful, right? But you've got a very low starting point, right? When you do it as a company, it gets stupid.
Okay, well.
So if we come over here a bit, so what you've got, when you do it as a company, they are all connected to the same network. Okay, they're not 3 different networks anymore.
No.
They're all connected to the same network. So you have to have the total value of that company, then you take 5% of that, and you add it to each unit in that company.
So you're doing 5% for the lance, because they're linked.
Yep.
And then all the others, if multiple lances are linked together, you're adding another 5% for each of those lances. Is that what you're saying?
So when you've got a lance by itself,
Yeah.
you connect them all into a network.
Yeah.
Right? So there's 4 units in that network.
Yeah.
You take 5% of the total value of that network.
Yeah.
And you add it to each unit in the network.
Yeah. Got it.
So when you have a company, you've got 12 units and they're all connected to a network.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They can all share targeting data. They can all add in and take away from the network, right? They're all connected, which means you have to add all of them up, take 5% of that,
yes,
and then add that back to every single one of them. So what happens is...
Yeah, but you're not adding the 5% for a lance on top of...
No.
Combined 5% of...
You've got 5% for the company.
For the company, right.
So you take the initial battle value for those companies. So like just the flat value of the unit. You've got Lance 1 is 4,158, Lance 2 is 7,022, and Lance 3 is 5,210.
Okay.
Right? We take that over here, we add them all together, we get 16,390.
Okay.
Then you have to take 5% of that and add it back in for each unit. So basically you have to do that times 12, because there's 12 units.
There's 12 units, okay. Yes.
Right?
Right.
That times 12, so L9 times 12, 819 times 12 is 9,834. So you've taken your BV for your company from 16,390 to 26,224. You've added nearly 10,000 to it.
That is a lot. That is
not nothing.
That's huge.
That is how that works. They're all connected to the same network. Therefore, they all share the same data. Therefore, they all get 5% of the total of those units. To my knowledge, I mean, if anybody has a different reading on that, then feel free to let me know. But that is how I read that. Does it or does it not say 5% of the network's total value?
It says add 5% of the total BV of all units in a C3 network to each of the units linked in each network.
So all 12 of those units are connected into a single unit in single network. That means you have to add 5% of the total value of that network back into each unit for that network. And they're really stupid, and this took me ages to do.
Wow.
I was here the other night until like midnight, working out what would happen if I did a 3-4 pilot in every single one of them. Hello, Dexy.
Hello, doggo. Come to see what we're doing. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So that is a fairly expensive force just off the top of the bat. It's not nothing. There's 16,000 points worth of units there. To add another 10,000 just to activate C3, that does not sit well with me. I don't think that's worth it. So if I put all three of those into their separate networks, then they'd come out to those values and you'd add them together, which I think actually comes out to more, right?
Yeah.
It technically, if you add it separately like that, so let's see. Wait a minute, I'll say equals that plus that plus that. I don't know. 19,000. Yeah. So it's less, so that's fine. So the total company value without any modification is 16,390. You have to take 5% of that and add it onto every single unit that's in that C3 network. There's 12 units in the network. You need to add 819, which is 5%, back to each of those 12 units. So you basically just do 819 times 12, and that is 9,834. So it's nearly 10 grand worth just to activate the C3.
Yeah. So in the case of the LRM that we were talking about, you essentially doubled its cost.
You've doubled its cost. You've over doubled its cost. Even the Maxim, the Spider, the Yellow Jacket, and the LRM carrier, they've all practically doubled their cost. The highest one out of them is the Maxim, and that's 817. So 819 has doubled its cost just to activate C3.
Yeah.
That's all it gets. There's no other benefit. There's no skill improvement. There's nothing, right? Just activating the BV in this big network costs you double the cost of that unit.
How much BV is a Guardian ECM? I can tell you, it ain't that much. Wow.
Well, I love C3. I reckon it's great. But if you are going to do this, I would strongly suggest you just take a flat 10%. Look at this. So the subtotal for the company is 16,000, right?
Yeah.
If you take 10% of that, it's 1,639, right? So if you add that equals that plus that, boom, 18 grand. For a company of units that are all connected to by C3 that originally started at 16 grand, I don't think that's too bad. I'd pay that. I'd be okay with that. 10%. Just add a flat 10% of the value of all the units that are connected together. If you've got multiple networks, then you have to do this for the multiple networks, right? But everyone that's connected together, everyone who can share that network's data gets that 5%. So I just add them up, take 10% and add it to the total.
All right. Pull up the table for modifying gunnery, because it was like, oh, it's here. I've got it in front of me as well.
Yep, well, that's what I've done here. So on each lance, I've also gone through and adjusted for a 3-4 pilot. But what you have to do is you have to take your adjusted value. You can't use the original value anymore, which cuts out new players, I think. I don't think new players should be made to do this, because one thing that you can always count on is you can go, I've got 10,000 BV to spend. I'm going to go to master unit list. I'm going to find a bunch of cool ones that I've got minis for.
Yep.
I'm going to look them up on the little matrix that they've got there.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to get 3, 4 of that. That's this amount. 2, 2 on that one. Yep, that's that amount. Add it all up. Oh, I've got to drop 1,000 points. Oh, what do I do? Right, that's as much stress as a new player needs to be worried about. Right, this here, you can't use that system anymore. You can't use master unit list to get your battle values anymore because you have to use the C3 adjustment.
Yeah.
So that first lance, so the battle master is 1,851. You're adding 207 for the 5%. We're working on lance level again, so you're adding 207 to that, and that takes it to 2,059-ish, right? And that is the value, not the 1,851. The 2,059 is the value that you have to use to get your skill modifier now. So you go to your calculator. What did I say? 259. 2,059. Now I've got a battle skill modifier table built in here, so I can do this easy enough. And if you have access to the little table at the end of tech manual, then you can just punch those numbers in, have an input cell, and say, okay, put that in and multiply it by this for these things, and then you can look in the matrix and do it. It's not that hard, but you can't use the systems that are available online anymore.
No.
Right?
So
if I want to go to a 3-4 pilot starting at 2059, I have to go to 2.7. So that's what I've done here. Right? 2.718. 2.718.
Okay.
Right? And that drives the price for this up from the standard value is 4,158. It goes up for the C3, it goes up to 4,990. To adjust each of their skills by 1 point drives the cost up to 6,587.
All right. Well, let's forget about piloting for the moment because that doesn't affect piloting. It only affects gunnery.
Okay.
So let's have a look at gunnery. So what does a point of gunnery increase as a percentage on the standard BV multiplier table? So I'm looking in tech menu here, and I know this one has changed because this is the older book.
Well, I've got
1.2.
So does that say 1.2?
This is 1.2, 1.4, 1.6 if you've got a 5 pilot.
1.6, 1.75. Yep. So that's
changed a bit. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not yeah, yours has got 1.87 there.
That's all right.
That's mine actually.
That's yours. Yeah.
But this is, as far as I know, this is correct. If I go to master unit list here, just a sec. I tested it with a bunch actually, but all you really have to do is put it into a table and then like VLOOKUP. So if you don't even have to VLOOKUP, you just have to say in this cell, multiply it by that number.
Because essentially what you're doing is comparing whether just paying individual unit costs to increase their gunnery to make it better, or do we go with this C3 system?
Yeah.
But you're paying everyone's percentage of BV.
So 1605, 3884, 3708, 3547, 3370, 3098 matches up. So this matches master unit list, and that's all I'm worried about.
Okay. All right.
So if I put one of my own modified mechs in, I'm reasonably sure that when I put it into here and get a skill value, I'm following the master unit list.
So, I mean, okay. So an LRM carrier, if we give it gunnery 0.
So you want to use the C3 one, or do you want to use a standard one?
Just standard.
So 833 was the LRM carrier, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
But a 00 would be 2,000 points.
Yeah, no, forget piloting. Just focus purely on gunnery.
Okay, so a 05 would be 1,400 points.
Okay, and what is it under the C3? Well, it changes, doesn't it, depending on what you've got?
Yeah, well, that's the point. You're already modifying your BV because you're taking a unit with C3 on it.
Okay, so what did you come up with on the example?
So here your C3 LRM carrier is 798.
Plus
260 for the C3. But see, if that unit was in this lance, then that number would be higher.
Yeah.
Because 5% of it would be higher. Right? For the company-wide, it's 819 plus 798. So...
Yeah, so it's doubling.
1,617. 1,617. You can get a 0.5 pilot in there for 1,400. That's 200 less than you would if you put it into a company of C3s.
Yeah.
But that's... wait
again,
a minute. 798.
I mean, if you had a lance of the 3 LRMs, because the amount I'm also looking at the damage output capability as well. Which you look at.
I mean, that's a thing. But the Artemis is giving you more damage capability.
Well, you could still count that anyway.
Yeah. So, but if you have just...
Like the cheaper LRM. So if you just go back to the thing with the Maxis. So the Maxim, 817.
Yep.
And you've got 3 lots of 798, for example. Get rid of the Challenger, get rid of the Warhammer, have 3 LRMs.
Oh, okay.
You know, so if you're going to do it that way...
if I said this was 798...
Yeah.
And this was 798...
Forward then. Yeah.
I'll have to put that back
No,
at some point. But we'll pretend there's 3 LRM carriers there.
Yep. So that comes to 3,211.
And it adds 160 for each of those units, which is 5% of that 3,211.
Yeah. So that becomes a bit more reasonable, depending on what else you add. But if it's just that lance, to give them the capability to shoot at essentially short range if the Maxim is okay. Okay, to mix it up.
That's the point, is you've taken... The only reason that's better is because you've put cheaper units
in. That's correct.
That's the only reason it's better. If you want to use units that are actually like... The LRM carrier is not equipped for this. The armor's gone down, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It can't move as fast as the original.
No.
But and that Maxim is only a hovercraft. It's got some good like weaponry and stuff, but it is not meant to be out there like full-on combat. It's going to get destroyed.
Yeah. But if
it's cheaper, but it's going to get annihilated.
But if you had that Hugh Huang or whatever, it's 2017.
If I put the Hugh Huang in charge of it,
yeah. So
it goes up to 4,000 again.
4,411.
Which is more than it was in the first place. Oh no, slightly less. It was 5,000 before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So you can make it. You can make it a really, really cheap thing, but you have to take crappy units. You have to take cheap units in order to keep that 5% as low as possible. So that you can then have a cheaper unit. So there's a Venom that's only 939. There's a Hitman version that's only 860-ish. The Komodo has both a master system and a slave system, but they're both about 1,300 to 1,500. So they're out. If you're trying to keep it under 1,000 for C3 Master, let's have a quick look here. So if you go into Mega Mech Lab and you say, there is not very much there, buddy.
No.
Not very much at all.
No.
So before you get to the end of the page on the advanced stuff, you're over 1,000. There's like a dozen units there that are under 1,000 BV. The non-box set stuff, you've got a bit more. You got a few pages worth before you hit there. You can get up to a Shrek PVC carrier with a C3 Master in it, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's 993, but then you're on to thousands of points. So, I mean, Venom, Striders, Whitworths, Manticores, Ravens, Panthers, LRM carriers. You've got Jenna. There's a Jenna in there, a Locust, MRM carrier. Right, there are some...
AC2 carrier with LBX.
There was a Partisan or something that was in there as well.
Yeah, that's nice.
There are some really good units that are really cheap that you could get your 5% value from. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't think that's enough. I don't think that is a fair price to pay. I mean, you could get those units, put them into, make them 0-0 pilots, and build 2 Lancers probably for the price of one of these bigger Lancers with C3.
Yeah.
And they'd have a permanent -4 to their attacks. If you drop your piloting skill from 4 to 0, you are effectively taking 4 off every single target number you ever roll for anything.
Yeah. It's
Because this is just range, right? And 4 is the maximum. Most of the time, it'll just be changing you from long to medium or medium to short, because you're all moving forward at the same time. It's only when you get an actual fire support unit that you get full benefit. That's why I built a company rather than just one.
Yeah, that's
thing.
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Something that's not going to be in the fight, but can still contribute.
But can still contribute to the fight. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to reload this because that's all on discard changes and reload. But I've also got the there's a level 2 there as well, and that goes from. So I built it basically on the level 2, the command level 2 box set that I've got.
Okay.
There were 2 units in that didn't have a C3I variant. What were they?
Well, they didn't plan that very well, did they?
No. That's what I thought, actually. What was it? I can't remember. It was, I think it was the Highlander and... Oh, no, the Highlander's got one. No, I can't remember what it was. But I've got Mercury, Exterminator, the Highlander, and the King Crab were all in that box set, and they all have a C3 variant. A C3I variant, sorry. And then I added in a Vulcan, which is a 6.96 40-tonner, replacing a 6.9 40-tonner, so that's not too bad. And I got a... What was the other one? A Marauder. So the 9W has a C3I unit, and that's a 75-ton with 355.
Ooh.
As opposed to 75-ton with 4.6. So I thought, well, that's pretty good. I didn't write the names of the ones that I was missing. I just wrote down the tonnage and the moves profile.
Yeah, that's all right.
Try and find replacements. So that comes out at 9,261. Now, for an interlinked level 2 Comstar group, I think that's pretty good. 10,000 points. I'd take that. Yeah. That's cool. 5% of that is 463. So you have to add 400, nearly 500 back onto every one of them in order to account for that. And that puts that from 9,000 up to 12,000.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. The King Crab variant, I think the one I took was the one with the Act 20s. So he's probably in there hitting things hard. The Mercury's in there getting short range. The Exterminator and the Vulcan are in there getting short range. And the Highlander and the Marauder can just, like, pound things. But it's still, I don't think that's worth it. Do you know what? Want to know?
It's a lot of points. Eh?
It's a lot of points.
It really adds up.
Like I say, if you guys are doing this, if you're a gaming group and you want the realistic, more like realistic things, say, well, C3 is important. It's a big system. It is, and it has an impact on the battle, right? It's cool and it has an impact on the battle, so it should have a cost, right? Just put a flat 10%, and for the love of God, if you're a new player, don't take C3 until you know what your group's house rules are. Because if you don't know what the house rules are, you're going to turn up to your games with this cool lance that you've built, and it's suddenly going to be worth like 2,000 points more, and you're going to get really upset. Just stay away from C3 and that sort of stuff until you know what your group's house rules are. And if you're in a group, tell people what your house rules are according for this stuff, because it's really important for people to know what's happening, have as much information as possible. Do you want to know what I did? I was looking at this company value. We remember the company total that I gave you with the C3 modifier is 26,000, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what I did was I just picked a couple of units that looked cool, and I thought, okay, well, I've got 12 units all linked with C3 masters. There's some really good stuff in there for 26,000. What could I get for 26,000 without having to dink around with C3? I can put a Highlander pilot, a 3-3 pilot into a Highlander, the original Highlander, with the Gauss rifle and all that junk.
You're right.
I can put a 3-3 pilot into one of them for 3,206. That means I can have 8 3-3 Highlanders versus your company that's all linked by C3, and I've still got 500 points left to put somebody in a Locust. Now, how do you think 8 3-3 Highlanders would go against that 4-5, remember, this is still base 4-5.
4-5.
How do you reckon they'd go against that? Because I reckon they'd take them apart.
So what did you build? Let's have a look at your units that you had in your lance.
So we've got the Battle Master, Maxim, Spider, Yellow Jacket. That's
okay.
Lance 1.
Yeah.
Hugh Huang, Thug, Wolverine, Axeman. That's Lance 2. Maxim, Challenger, LRM Carrier, Warhammer. That's your Fire Lance.
And you've got a force size modifier as well, let's say.
Well,
if you want to avoid
I'm ignoring that.
You're ignoring that?
Completely.
Okay.
But if you add that in,
Let's see.
right? If you add that force multiplier in, their 26,000 goes up to 39,000. I can easily get a full company of Highlanders with 3/3 pilots in them.
Yeah.
And you want to know something even stupider? I can get a full star of 2/3 pilots in the original Stone Rhinos, which is 2 Gauss rifles and a bunch of pulse lasers, clan pulse lasers.
Yeah.
I can get a full star of them against your company. Now, the Highlanders, there's 8 versus 12, and some of them are vehicles and some of them are only light units. There are some really big hitters in there.
Yeah.
But if I maybe 3 or 4 of those Highlanders Gauss rifles on that Yu Huang, that center, lance forward thing, he goes down, that section of the network goes down. I blow that Maxim up, he goes down, that section of the network goes down. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So your whole benefit goes away.
Yeah.
And those Stone Rhinos, there's 1,000 points left over. I can get a decent light mech, like Garrison Clan mech, with a reasonable pilot in it for 1,000 points. Easy, I reckon. I can run him around the back and kill LRM carriers and things.
Protomechs.
But yeah, I mean, that is 10 Gauss rifles, clan Gauss rifles, with 2-3 pilots.
And large. Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. No, I see your point.
Right.
Yeah, the points, the actual costing is where the issue is. Yeah, you're right.
So I am 100% on C3. I love C3. I reckon it's great. I think it probably does need to have some sort of BV cost. I've never done it. If I was going to do it, I would say a flat 10%. If you are a new player and you are playing in a group where people are insisting that you pay for your C3, in all honesty, just don't take C3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just don't take it. Just get pulse lasers. They're in the same timeline bracket, I'm pretty sure. 3050 to 3060.
Yeah.
You've got pulse lasers, you've got Gauss rifles, you've got armor piercing ammo, you've got Arrow 4, you've got
LB10X.
LB10X.
LBX cannons.
LBX cannons, you've got did I say precision ammo? I said precision ammo.
Precision ammo is a thing too for me.
You've got all sorts of other things that you could do to lower your target numbers. You don't need to take C3. And like I say, I reckon I could take that standard 4-5 force. I'd have a hard time, right? You're not going to be like easily winning this thing.
No.
But I reckon with 8 Highlanders with 3/3 pilots in them, I reckon I'd have a damn good shot. A damn good shot. Even with that full star of Stone Rhinos, I reckon I could have a good shot.
Well, thanks for ruining C3 for me, Tarron. That's great. Thanks for inviting me along to this. But no, it's relevant. I mean, that's the thing. You've really, knowing all those extra costs, you've really got to decide if it's what you want.
Yeah. And that's the skill thing. Like you can see here, I went through and worked it all out. That for the total company, if you want every single unit in your company to be a 3/4 pilot instead of a 4/5, I went through and worked it out, and it costs you like 8,000 points more, 34,608 instead of 26.
Gosh,
it's ridiculous.
That's a lot of mechs and stuff too, isn't it?
Because you're taking the value of the original unit, right, and you're adding 819 to it, and then you're putting it into the matrix and finding out what your skill value is.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it's silly. And like I say, I would not use the force size adjustment at all, ever. I don't see, all right, that's a fib, but I do see where it could be fun if you have some sort of like I said, a handicap or bonus system for different BVs.
Yeah.
If you have some cool system where having a higher BV gets you penalties or gives your opponent bonuses, then go for it. Put that in there.
It could be interesting.
But I can easy cheese that. I could easy cheese that. If I know you're likely to take a company, right? If I say, well, you've taken this company here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to take like 4. I could take 4 Highlanders with 0-0 pilots in, right? And that will drive your force up. If you've got 12 units and I've got 4, you have to multiply your BV by 2 1/3. 2.3 is your modifier after you work it out.
Wow.
According to the formula. Right? So that is an easy way to just completely cheese the whole thing and go, well, now I've got a highly skilled, small, elite force, which has a whole bunch of bonuses because your unit is like 5 times more expensive than mine.
Yeah.
Because you could, it's ridiculous. I could take, if you're looking at about 19,000, 20,000 points for the force, which you pretty much are if you do it by the lands, but by the company you've got about 16,000, I think. Yeah. So for this total 26,000, which is your total adjusted 4-5 company with C3 network active, 26,000, I can 100% I can easily get a lance of 0-0 atlases, and I could probably add something even bigger than an atlas to that. But I know that a standard atlas with a 0-0 pilot in it is about 4,500.
Yeah.
So 4 of them is 18,000. So I've got less BV than you to start with, and you're going to have to multiply that 26,000 by 2 1/3.
Nah.
Which is dumb.
Nah.
It's dumb. I mean, no, don't use that one unless you're really, really a glutton for punishment, honestly, because that I would 100%. I don't like cheesing stuff. I don't like to find the little thing that breaks the whole scenario and makes it so that I win. It is fun occasionally, but I don't like doing it all the time.
Yeah.
But if you pull that out of your bum, I will 100% cheese that. That is...
For sure.
Now I've got 4 elite atlases and they've all got a bonus to their shooting or something because my BV was so much lower than yours. But there you go. That was a long and stupid rant. But
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't sort of know that it was that bad with the calculations. Yeah.
And that is the thing that you have to remember. If you are people that are enforcing this, make sure that people know that this is a house rule. Because if you're doing it the way you're supposed to do it, then you're putting that C3 value on before you're allowed to check for piloting and all that sort of stuff. And that is going to ruin new players' ability to get into the game. Because, I mean, you can sound off in the comments if you want, but I reckon 90% of new players are going to master unit list and looking at the grid at the bottom of the page and going, okay, well, I can get this for that.
Yeah.
Right? And you've just destroyed that. They have to come along and do some more math in order to figure out what they want to do. Like I say, I am hoping that the guys that are talking about this in the comments have gone to a game club and they've said, look, just add this amount to your units or to the full force. Right, and like I say, I reckon a flat 10% is fair. That Hugh Huang, and the Thug and the Wolverine, the Axeman, it's 7,000 points. Yeah. Add 10% of that, it's 7,700. That's not bad, and you can fairly easily figure that out, right? So, I made a little thing that it increments. I put an amount in there that it's allowed to go up to. So my total value for my force can't go over 8,000, right? And I think, what's a close one? What can I get to? It's maybe 7,500. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I can put 7,270 points worth of units and not go over 8,000. Stops at 7,997 by adding 10%.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
There is a lot of math involved in that, and it is very expensive to try and do. I don't recommend that for new players at all.
No.
I think if you are a new player and there's any sort of problem with C3 in the games that you're playing, honestly, just take something else.
Yeah.
Just take something else.
And
Anything else.
as a new player, there's enough complexity with the basic
That's it,
stuff and
yeah.
everything, you know.
Like I said, in the Scout mission one, the complexity one,
Yeah.
one of the ways that you can increase complexity in your beginners' games is make them make their own force, because it is a skill that they're going to have to learn to do.
Yeah.
If they want to play BattleTech along the way. Yeah. And it isn't necessarily something that you can just pick up. I mean, most people will go, I've played games before, I know how this works, I'm going to take that, and that, add some points up, boom, bang, bomb, done, right? But a new player who really isn't into like tabletop gaming and doesn't know their stuff, building a force can be a big deal. It is way overcomplicated to add something like this in. So if you are a new player and you're getting your first few games, stay absolutely clear of C3 if there's any doubt at all.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Keep it for your scenarios and things like that, which is a strength for BattleTech. Scenarios are definitely the way to go.
Exactly, yeah.
And they are fun, so...
And like I say, standard scenarios, this just breaks them in half. There's no way to do this properly with the full set of rules that they've put down there, which you have to remember are all optional. I 100% think that the skill thing is important, and I would always add on bombs and things like that, but it's all optional technically. So, you know, but I think if you use the full rules for Battle Force Generation for their BV adjustment, you can't have a standard scenario. You have to adjust the scenario to include rules about what happens if this happens and what happens if that happens, and how to, like, you have to have exact unit limits. You can't let people cheese the system like I would.
Yeah.
And you'd have to have some sort of handicap system for going over BV rather than trying to stick to standard, this is the amount of BV you're allowed to spend, go do it. Because if you're having a force multiplier, then what are you going to do? You all have to talk to each other and say, well, this is how many units I've got. And then everybody has to work their numbers out based on who they're going to be playing against.
Yeah, it's too hard.
It's just too much.
It's too much.
It's stupid.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah.
There you go. Okay, well, that's cool, man. Thanks for...
That was a rant and a half.
No, but it's fair enough. That's fair enough. And it's to see some sort of figures and to go through them and things like that to understand. And
I know that the units that I've picked there are fairly high. Like, there's a lot of BV tied up in those, but that's the sort of thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's how it is.
It's going to happen. You're going to have 30, 50 plus units to get C3, and these are some reasonable examples of that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So, I mean, you have to be ready to spend a solid 30 grand worth of BV if you want to have a really good C3 system up.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of numbers, and I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, too long, didn't listen. That's the thing. We don't recommend.
We don't. That's it. We could have just said at the beginning.
We could have just said that.
But I needed to know too. And here's why.
Here's why.
You know. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Cool.
Puppy on my lap.
Yeah, we're with bit of nature today. You probably heard birds and stuff in the background.
The magpies are going nuts too for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
We're going to get some sun or something.
Probably. Anyway, that is our thing. So, yeah, if you want to hear longer rants, I guess you could probably give this one a like and give us a rule you want us to track down, I guess. Something like that. I want to say personally, thanks for everybody that's listening to the workshop videos again. Thank you very much. And I guess that's it.
That's it.
Yep. All right. You guys stay groovy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take care, peeps. Bye.